Hi again, this is Terry Heaton, author of The Gospel of Self, How Jesus Joined the GOP. This is the next in a series of videos that I'm creating for you to help you understand a few of the things about my background in working for Pat Robertson at the 700 Club in the 1980s. I was a producer of the show and then executive producer of the show, so I was in a catbird seat in terms of the presentation of the television program that really did a lot more than people realize in terms of changing our culture, especially moving it and the Republican Party to the right. Um, the thing I want to talk about today, we're talking about deconstructing our assumptions or challenging our assumptions, something I believe is necessary for anybody who wishes a seat at the discussion table downstream. Um, and because I think we are so polarized in this country, we have no sense of what the other people are thinking. Our views of that are based entirely on our views of this. So somebody needs to help bridge the gap, and I'm trying to do that. And so I'm going back to those days when I was a part of really a very interesting group of very talented, very creative people who basically engineered the changing of the culture. And while there are a lot of people involved in this, Jerry Falwell and the moral majority certainly are a part of it. The 700 Club played a unique role because we built ourselves as the voice of authority in terms of news and information. And in doing that, we did something that today is having really serious cultural repercussions. And I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about how we did it. And I really hope that you'll pay attention here because it's complicated and a lot of people think I'm crazy. And that's okay with me. And what I'm talking about is the fallacy that the press in the United States is liberal politically. Just because, you can find studies that show that people who do the press are, liberal by nature, does not make the press itself liberal, and especially not liberal politically. And that's really important to understand because there has been a narrative created. Actually, it goes back into the 60s, and the intellectual thinkers of the time on the right, or conservatives, started calling the press liberal. The liberal media. That idea really isn't but 50 years old. And the National Review, for example, I think is where it first appeared. And then, of course, there was Richard Nixon and his vice president Spiro Agnew in his famous speech in Iowa, where he directly laid out that the press is an enemy of the president, or at least his president. So we just picked up on that, and we took it to a place where we could plant seeds with it. And I want you to understand, and I'm going to tell you this just absolutely straight from my heart. There is no such thing as the liberal press. It's a manufactured narrative, and I helped manufacture it. So I'm telling you, there is no such thing. It's convenient. It was very, very convenient for us because what we did at CBN and the 700 Club is that we placed ourselves to the right of the press. And so it was the only way that we could get on the same level as the press. So, we contended that we were a conservative version of the press. The problem, the logical problem with that thought is that we entered the space politically. We did not enter the space as an information conduit or an information source. We entered it politically. So, our press was certainly politicized. But in order to make that work, we had to convince you that the existing press, the mainstream press, was liberal. And we did that relentlessly. We pounded on that. I remember a piece that Ron Powers did for it was CBS Sunday Morning, way back in the 80s, and where he looked at a story that we had done. And I remember him saying it was so slanted, it was vertical. And he was right. Of course it was slanted. It was deliberately politically slanted. So that we could, present ourselves as TV journalism with a different spirit. But just because we placed ourselves on the same level as the mainstream press doesn't mean that we were. And it further doesn't mean that we, in so doing, could shove the mainstream press to the left. But we needed that in order to gain traction with you all. And, and that has now gone on. Long before there was Fox News, people, there was CBN News. We wrote the playbook that Fox News uses. And so I don't want to sound silly in this, but we knew what we were doing. And we made no bones about it. We wanted to change the world. We wanted to change the society that we were around. And in many ways, we succeeded. But look what we have today. There's not a person within the sound of my voice who doesn't, at least in part, believe that the press is liberal. We've studied it. We think we can prove it, but it's based upon a false assumption. And that's what I want to communicate to everybody, that you need today, especially as individuals, and you don't need anybody, guiding this effort. You just need to do it yourself. You need to challenge your own assumptions. You need to have the courage to look at what it is you believe and, play a little game that I call why because. When you ask yourself a question, why do I believe this? You must respond with a because. And every because begets another why, and every why begets another because. And in doing this, you can go through your entire worldview, if you will, step by step, and you can decide for yourself again whether this is something you really want to stick with, or whether you want to open your mind or open your heart to maybe, just maybe, the fact that you have been manipulated, because that's what's taking place around us. Now look, I don't come to you as a person with all the answers. I'm just asking you to participate in a process of asking questions, because the questions, it turns out, are more important than the answers. And so until next time, this is Terry Heaton. Please buy my book. It's an important read today. The Gospel of Self, How Jesus Joined the GOP. Thank you very much.